finally bought out Jabong for $70 million, pipping the likes of Future Group, Aditya Birla Group, which is also interested at one point, and more importantly, Snapdeal. Now, what this deal will do is make Flipkart a very formidable player when it comes to online fashion, because combined with Myntra and Jabong, Flipkart will have almost a more than 80% share as far as online fashion is concerned. And remember, it's a high margin category compared to electronics. So I guess this is the larger strategy in terms of taking on Amazon and entrenching themselves in one important category. But to really get more perspective on this deal, we really have the man of the moment, so to speak, Ananth Narayanan, the CEO of Myntra, who will now also oversee Jabong after this deal. Ananth, thank you so much for talking to ET Now Startup Central. There are more details now with respect to the financial aspect. Global Fashion Group, Jabong's parent, has said that it's $70 million deal, and they've also given some details on Jabong's financials. Revenues of 126 million euros and losses of 56 million euros for the year ended March 2016. Purely from a financial perspective, would you say this is a very good deal for Flipkart?
Look, we wouldn't have acquired it if we didn't think it was a good deal. So I'm not at liberty. I don't want to discuss the financial numbers. As you know, Flipkart as a group doesn't disclose it. But obviously, we believe in both the short and the long-term story around Jabong. That's why we have done the deal. I believe it's actually a very good acquisition for us. And I think between Myntra and Jabong, we will be able to, and by the way, and overall Flipkart as a group, we will be able to shape fashion and lifestyle in India. And we're very excited about it.
Ananth, this is Krishna coming to you from 18 Hours Mumbai studios. I want to ask, what exactly do you have to say to critics who think that this is more of an ego trip for Flipkart than anything else, that it is more about others losing out on Jabong than Flipkart getting it?
Look, we don't operate that way. I think in the Flipkart group, we think about what's best eventually for the customer and how do we actually continue to grow and shape the market. So that's how we think about all deals, and so that's how we thought about this deal as well. I wouldn't actually comment on speculation, but I think for us, the real thing was how do we actually shape the fashion and lifestyle market in India, which I believe will be a 40 billion market by 2020. And how do we actually shape it? How do we give consumers more choice? How do we make interesting value propositions happen? Those are the discussions that happen in Flipkart, both in Flipkart as a group and in Myntra.
Fair enough, Ananth, not an ego trip, but a crucial strategy there. But in terms of strategy, take us through the next few steps here. Will Jabong, Myntra continue as separate companies, separate websites, separate apps? What's the roadmap really as far as that is concerned?
Sure. So look, I mean, the goal is actually not to integrate. The goal is to actually run them as companies, both in terms of the front end, right? Both the app, the website, etc., as well as the consumer base. I think Jabong has done a fabulous job in terms of the consumer base, building the 4 million monthly active users, the international brands, the focus on women. Myntra, of course, has its own set of strengths that I won't elaborate on, but I think the goal is to actually run them as independent companies. To the extent possible, of course, we will leverage each other's capabilities. Those could be around logistics and supply chain, where the Flipkart group is very strong. It could be around technology. It could be around leveraging international brands, which each of us has. And the eventual purpose, as I said before, is to offer more choice to consumers and to create better consumer experience.
Ananth, I wanted to quickly check, was GoJava's under consideration at any point of time in striking this deal?
Not at all. Not at all. I think the acquisition was one of Jabong. I think GoJava's was no part of this.
One more cloud on the horizon, of course, Ananth, is the governance concerns surrounding Jabong. I mean, recently there were reports that, Jabong's own co-founder controlled the entity GoJava's, which was spun out into Quickdell Logistics. So what kind of concerns do these present? What kind of governance concerns did you have to cope with while doing this transaction?
Sure. Look, I mean, I don't want to comment on the history and what the issues were. I will tell you that Flipkart as a group believes in the highest standards of governance and ethics. So going forward, we will do everything in our power to make sure that we're there, right? And we have bought it obviously because we believe in current state and with what the management of Jabong has done over the last 9 months, we feel comfortable. That's why we've gone ahead with the acquisition.
Ananth, now that it is a done deal, tell us what happens as far as employees and the management integration is concerned. Jabong's current CEO has stepped down, but what will happen as far as employees are concerned?
Yeah, so a great question. Firstly, by the way, the reason for this deal is growth. The reason for this deal is not to go after lots of synergy. So 95% of our attention is going to be how do we actually grow both platforms. That's the real focus. Sanjeev will be transitioning out, and I think he will be transitioning over to me. At this point, he's built a great management team, and that management team will continue to run on a day-to-day basis Jabong. I will actually start spending time, in addition to my leading Myntra, I will also be spending time at Jabong and with the management team in Jabong.
Ananth, also, help us understand in terms of unit economics as a unit level, how does Jabong really compare with Myntra?
Look, I believe in healthy growth. I think, growth shouldn't come when the unit economics are negative, right? I just don't believe in that. I think we will have to make both of that happen, right? So that's what we'll focus on. I think with Jabong as a platform, we will focus on how do we make sure unit economics work.
All right, Ananth, I'm going to go from unit economics to GMV. In terms of GMV, Myntra is working with a $1 billion target for FY17. How far will this Jabong acquisition help in reaching this goal? Does it add significant heft towards it?
Yeah, so look, I think the $1 billion target of Myntra continues to remain unchanged. I don't think it's because of the Jabong acquisition. I think Jabong continues to, I think we'll have to figure out what to grow Jabong to. And I think over the next several months, we'll actually come up with an answer there. In terms of what we're doing on Myntra, I think the answer is simple. We're providing great consumer experience. We've improved the selection. We have added a few categories like jewelry, personal care, and so on, and home. All of those are doing very well. We opened our desktop site. So all of those are actually really helping to get to unit economics, both the unit economics, healthy unit economics, as well to a $1 billion run rate.
Ananth, have to get your views on the other news that's been buzzing today, Amazon Prime coming to India. How will Myntra, Jabong cope with Amazon Prime, in terms of getting those fashion goods faster to your customers?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether I would focus so much on reaching faster. I think, look, fashion and lifestyle in my mind is a browse category. I think how you sell matters as much as what you sell. It's not a search category, right? I think you go search for books, you go search for electronics, but you actually browse for clothes and fashion. And I think what we do there is very different. I also think, by the way, Myntra, and I have to get into Jabong, but Myntra has terrific delivery already, and our NPS is one of the highest in the industry. And therefore, I continue to believe that across Myntra, Jabong, and Flipkart's offlines, we will continue to delight customers and do well. I focus also on expanding the market and thinking about the possibility as opposed to just, a particular competitor.
All right, Ananth, one final question before we let you go quickly. Will you require a further round of fund injections from Flipkart to handle, integration related and other costs going forward?
Look, firstly, we're not integrating Jabong. I think I've told you. I think we're going to run them. I think we're going to leverage each other's capabilities. And yes, all funds are really part of the Flipkart group. We're a fully owned subsidiary of the Flipkart group, so all funds come from the same place.
Ananth Narayanan, thank you so much for patiently taking all our questions here on ET Now Startup Central. Certainly gave more perspective on where Myntra and Jabong stand going forward. Thanks so much for that. But keeping it with the big story, Myntra, Jabong, and the larger implications that this has for e-commerce, for online fashion, who better to take those questions than Mukesh Bansal? Two reasons. He's the co-founder of Myntra, which is, of course, the dominant player today as far as online fashion is concerned. And remember, not too recently, he also had a top management role at Flipkart. So, Mukesh, thank you so much for talking to us today. Just want to start by asking you, as someone who's co-founded Myntra, led Flipkart in a very senior role, what is your own take of Flipkart's decision to acquire Jabong today? And apart from the short-term gains, with respect to selection, brands, what is the larger implication here? How does it tie in to Flipkart's overall strategy? Why did this become necessary?
In last 2 years, we have seen Myntra has emerged as the leading fashion destination and already in very strong position and significantly ahead of all the other players in the space. I think this acquisition will further strengthen Myntra's position in the fashion space, and basically now there is no number 2 player in the fashion. So if you're between Flipkart fashion, Myntra fashion, Jabong fashion, my sense is the group will have about 75-80% of all fashion market in India, and that's a very, very compelling position to win, especially in a category that's strategically important. Fashion, as we all know, is a huge size category, almost $100 billion, very good margin profile. So I think it's a great development. It was a good validation of all the work that has happened over years in building very strong fashion backbone.
Mukesh, this is Krishna coming to you from 18 Hours Mumbai studios. I wanted to ask you, is it still a compelling buy, considering it lost significant market share to rivals over the last couple of years? Is this more of an ego trip then for Flipkart, that on the face of it, they're indomitable in fashion, at least for now?
I think Jabong is a pretty well-known brand name in the northern parts of the country. They have a strong ethnic wear offering, some really good international brands also. And over the years, Jabong also has a very large customer database. My sense is anywhere north of 5 million. So it's I think from the deal price here, it looks a very compelling buy, which will add a lot of consumers, good brand and good brand relationship. It will also further improve Myntra's ability to collaborate with the brands, because among the online player, Myntra will probably be buying all the inventory these brands sell online. So it will give us a pretty good situation to have longer term collaboration with many of these brands.
Mukesh, what kind of challenges do you see going forward in terms of absorbing, yet another acquisition? I mean, who best than you to tell us that, considering you were in the thick of things when Flipkart acquired Myntra?
I think each acquisition is very different. Myntra context was very, very different. At the time we had a pretty strong management team in place, and a strategic call was to keep the brands completely independent with a lot of autonomy for the management team, which has in retrospect worked out really well for Myntra. In case of Jabong, I'm not familiar with the current context, but the management team of Flipkart and Myntra will have to evaluate current context and plan out the integration strategy, keeping the current realities of Jabong business in mind. I'm pretty sure the teams will take the right calls, and they already have experience in a few good integrations.
All right, Mukesh, finally, I'm just going to jog all of our memories back. I'm sure you don't have to do that. The Myntra deal happened at a valuation of $300 million. Given that, they've managed to snap up Jabong for a fraction of that price. Tell us, what does it all have to say about the dynamics of the market per se?
Well, I think it's more a reflection of the health of the business. I think Myntra was surging at that point. Last 2 years, Myntra has grown, I think, 5-fold. Very strong position. Only large e-commerce company with the positive unit economics, which is further improving. Very strong brand. Good portfolio of in-house brands. Roadster is, I think, on its way to be $100 million online only, which is first for India.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/etnow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at etnowlive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/etnow.